So this is a new unit for the day, bills of exchange. All those who have done your CEC and MEC would have already studied this unit as well. So we have done with consignment, we are done with single entry. Now we are coming to bills of exchange. So what is this bills of exchange? We first need to understand the meaning of the unit, right? So when a person is doing a business, he has both sales and purchases, right? So the sales and purchases can be done both in the form of cash as well as credit, right? Am I correct? In business, sales and purchases might happen in the form of cash or in the form of credit. Can anyone tell me the journal entry for cash sales quickly? What could be the journal entry for cash sales?
Cash to sales.
Cash account data to sales account.
Yes, very good. And what would be the journal entry for cash purchases?
Purchase to data to sales. Cash,
Huh?
ma'am, sorry.
Yeah, purchases account data to cash. This is very good, wonderful. Now, can you tell me a journal entry for credit purchases? Goods purchased on credit. What do we write? Yes, I'm just asking a journal entry for credit purchases. Instead of cash purchases, it is credit purchases. So what will my journal entry be? What happened?
Mom, if they give the name, then we have to take the name, no, Mom.
Yeah, that's okay. If they don't give the name, what will you write?
It's still cash, no, Mom.
How can it be cash if they're not
Creditor.
giving the? They're clearly saying it's credit purchases.
Yeah, so but we can't write cash. I mean, purchase account data to credit account, no, Mom.
Yeah. What do we write then? You forgot, Srija. Purchases account data to creditors. How come you forgot all these things? See, when the name is given, okay, you write the name of the person. If we have purchased goods from Ram, you write it as purchases to Ram. If you have purchased goods on cash, you write it as purchases to cash. But then now he's saying we have purchased goods on credit. That's it. He's not giving us the name. So our entry would be purchases account data to creditors account, because creditors are the people who are creditors now. Now don't say me you don't know this. Who are creditors?
Whom the business owe money.
To whom the business owes money, correct? To whom the business owes money. So we write the entry as purchases to creditors. Right? Now tell me a journal entry when there are credit sales in the business. Now it should be easy.
Creditors account
Ma'am,
data.
creditor account data to sales.
My goodness, creditors
Debtors,
account
ma'am. Debtors.
Debtors account debit to
debtors.
sales.
Just now you said creditors are the people to whom the business owes money. And when we are making sales, we are not owing money to them. So the entry now would be debtors account data to sales, because debtors are the people who owe money to the business. Because we have sold goods on credit to them, they owe money to us, and that's the reason we call them debtors. Okay. Now tell me, why does this credit sales or credit purchases happen? Why can't it be on cash only? Why is it on credit? Yes, why can't the business continue on cash? Why do they have business, credit sales and purchases in the business? Quickly answer.
Credit sales to promote the business, ma'am. To promote. Ma'am, we can't hear you, ma'am.
Are you speaking, ma'am?
Let me just check.
Now we can hear you, Mom.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
I think I got muted suddenly. Okay. Yes. So as I told you, credit sales and credit purchases. Now we'll just take an example. Okay. X sold goods to Y on credit. X has sold goods to Y on credit. Right? So when X has sold goods to Y on credit, tell me the journal entry quickly now. X sold goods to Y on credit, and we are writing the journal entries in the books of X. We are writing the journal entries in the books of X. X has sold goods to Y on credit. So what is the journal entry?
Y account
Y account
debit to sales account.
Correct. Very good. Y account data to sales account. Okay. So now X has sold goods to Y, and Y tells him that I cannot pay cash now. I need some time for credit and I will pay you later. Okay. So X and Y have a mutual agreement that Y will pay him the amount after 2 months. Right? X has sold the goods. The goods were worth rupees 10,000. Okay. So Y has promised that he will pay the amount to X after 2 months. Now what happens? After 2 months, X approaches Y, telling him that you have to pay me the amount now. But Y simply says, no, I don't have to pay any amount. I have already given you the amount. Then what? Can this happen?
Ma'am, your
Bad
voice is
debt. Bad
fluctuating.
debt. It becomes a bad debt.
It becomes a bad debt. So Y says that I cannot, I have already paid you. So this becomes a bad debt. That's correct. So in order to save such losses, save such problems from bad debts, this question, this topic called bills of exchange has come into existence. So whenever there is a credit transaction, whenever a person has to pay money to the other person, we need to take it in writing from them. If it is a written document, so if Y gives in writing that I will pay you so and so amount after 2 months, so Y just writes it in a bill and gives that I will pay you rupees to 10,000 after 2 months from today. So if this bill is there, if this written document is there with X, tomorrow if Y says that no, I don't have to pay you anything, I've already paid, then what can X do? He can go and sue Y in the court of law. He can say, see, I have your written document, right? So I have this written document with you, so I can sue you in the court of law. Otherwise, you pay me the amount. So that is why this concept of bills of exchange has come into existence. We cannot have agreements orally. If agreements are done orally, so if X and Y discuss orally that we will pay the amount to each other after 2 months or after 3 months, then there is no proof of that oral agreement. And oral agreements are not accepted in the court of law. The court of law will accept only written agreements, written documents, right? So to save ourselves from such frauds or such bad type of losses or bad debts, bills of exchange is the best solution. So we will see what it is exactly. So let us look at the outcomes of today's session. We will first quickly discuss what is the meaning and features of bills of exchange. Who are the parties to bills of exchange? Then what is the promissory note? We will see at the meaning and features of promissory note, differences between both of them. Then the remaining important two terms we will understand when we discuss. Okay. So first we will come to the meaning of bills of exchange. So whenever goods are sold on credit, the buyer promises to pay the amount due on a certain date. So this is what I told you in the example. Y has promised to pay the 10,000 rupees to X on a certain date. He says that I will pay you the amount after 2 months. So if today is, today is 4th of July. He says I will pay you the amount after 2 months. That means the amount falls due on 4th of which month? After 2 months, 4th of September, right? And in such a case, generally a written document is prepared to acknowledge the amount payable by the buyer to the seller. So what they do, via X and Y, they will make a written document so that it can serve as a proof. And this written document is called as a bill of exchange. So did you understand the meaning? The simple meaning of bill of exchange is it is a written document to acknowledge the amount payable by the buyer to the seller. So can you tell me who will make this document? The buyer or the seller?
Seller, ma'am.
The seller will make the document.
Seller.
The seller will make the document and he will get the buyer's acceptance on this document. When I say acceptance, the buyer needs to sign on that. So if the buyer is signing and giving, it means that he has given his acceptance. It implies that he has accepted that, yes, I will pay the amount after 2 months. So a bill of exchange is simply a written document which shows the amount payable by the buyer to the seller, and it is prepared by the seller of goods. Always students get confused with this. They think that the buyer is preparing. No, the seller will prepare the bill. He will prepare the bill and send it to the buyer. The buyer will sign it, which implies that he is giving his acceptance. Once the acceptance is given, this document is called as a bill of exchange. Unless the acceptance is given, this doesn't become a bill of exchange. It is merely a written document. So this written document prepared by the seller, sent to the buyer, and after the buyer's acceptance, it becomes a legal document which is called as a bill of exchange. Right? So we call such document as a bill of exchange, and this bill of exchange is called as bills receivable to the seller, and it will be called as a bills payable to the buyer. Because for the seller, he needs to receive the amount. So he will call it as bills receivable, the bill which I have to receive. For the buyer, he needs to pay the amount. So he will call it as bills payable, the bill which he needs to pay. Right? So what we have to do is we have to understand who has to pay to whom, what is the condition, and then we need to write journal entries for every case. That is the only thing which we need to do in bills of exchange. Only writing journal entries, that's it. Very, very simple. So we will move forward. Now the definition. We'll just look into a definition given by the Negotiable Instruments Act. So listen carefully to the definition. We have to understand each part of the definition now. Section 5 of the Negotiable Instruments Act defines a bill of exchange as an instrument in writing containing an unconditional order signed by the maker directing a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. So you need to remember the definition as it is. We will break the definition into parts and understand. First, it says bill of exchange is an instrument in writing. So that is the first point. It should be in writing. It cannot be an oral agreement. Right? So the first important point is it should be a document in writing. Second important point, containing an unconditional order. When I say order, I am not, for example, if I am X, I am the seller. I will not request Y to give me the money. I can order Y to give me the money because I have given him goods. Then why will I request? In return for goods, he needs to give me the money, right? So it is an order, it is not a request. And the order should be unconditional. When I say unconditional, I cannot attach some conditions in the document saying that you will pay me the money if I do this. You will pay me the money if this is done or if that is done. I cannot write any conditions to the order. The order will be simply pay me the amount of 2,000 rupees on 5th July. That's it. With the date, with my signature, and with then when I send it to Y will sign it and give his acceptance. So first point, it should be a written document. Second point, it is an order. Third one, it is an unconditional order. I cannot attach any conditions to that order. Next one, signed by the maker. So if I am the seller, I am Mr. X, I am making the document, I need to sign on it. Without my signature, the document doesn't become official, right? So I need to sign on the document, and in the document, I am directing a certain person. That means if I'm asking why, it should be a definite person. I cannot just say that someone has to pay me the amount, right? I have to direct it to a certain specific person. If I have sold goods to Y, I will specifically ask Y to pay me the amount. So my document is directed to a certain specific person and to pay a certain sum of money only. So the amount should also be certain. In the document, I cannot write pay 5,000 or 10,000 or 12,000, right? I should ask him to pay a certain amount only. Certain means specific amount. If I have sold goods to him worth 10,000, I will ask him only 10,000. I cannot ask him 10 to 12,000 anything. So the amount should be specific. We'll just see once again. It should be in writing. It should be an order. The order should be unconditional. The document should be signed by the maker. It should be directed to a certain person. The amount should be certain, that is specific. And the direction should be to the person or to the order of the certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. Now there are three things here. Either my document states that Y has to pay me the money, or it can be to the order of the certain person. That means Y can order someone else to pay me the money, or to the bearer of the instrument, or to anyone who is holding this instrument. So what do I write in the document? I will only write 2 months from today, pay me the amount of rupees 10,000. Okay, and Y is giving my acceptance. Y is giving his acceptance. So then, if I have this bill with me, I will get the money. If I give this bill to someone else, that person will show the bill and take the money. So it means this amount should be paid either to the person who is making the bill, or to the order to whom this person is asking, or to the bearer of this bill. So anyone who is having this document can go and approach Y and tell him, pay me the money. So now it is my task to keep the document to myself, or I give it to. It's fluctuating a lot.